The head of the World Trade Organization, Roberto Azevedo, has announced he will be ending his tenure early. The Geneva-based body confirmed the former Brazilian diplomat would resign at the end of August. He told ambassadors during a video conference that the move would allow them to choose a successor to confront what he described as a new post-COVID reality. Well, for more on this leading story, we are joined by our business editor, Kate Moody. Kate, thank you very much for joining us live on the programme. What can you tell us about this surprising resignation?
Well, Roberto Azevedo has been in charge since 2013, and under his tenure, the WTO has really struggled to remain relevant despite international trade tensions soaring. Some of that is due to animosity from the Trump administration, but certainly not all. The body's arguably most powerful unit, the appellate court, has effectively stopped functioning for about a year because the U.S. refused to approve new judges to it. But its identity crisis does go much deeper than that. The WTO hasn't been able to oversee any major overhaul of global regulations in over a decade. The so-called Doha round to update those regulations floundered. It collapsed a few years ago without success. There have been no major international deals under the WTO umbrella for years. Many of its 164 members have called for reforms to reflect the modern trading world, including more guidelines for intellectual property and high-tech trade, and to reflect China's growing clout on the global stage. With protectionism rising around the world, the WTO was also largely sidelined during the U.S.-China trade war of the last few years, which now shows signs of resurfacing. The organization also hasn't weighed in much during the coronavirus pandemic, beyond saying that global trade volumes were likely to sink by as much as a third this year. Now, Azevedo is a career diplomat from Brazil. He had been due to serve until September 2021. He told members today that leaving early would give them time to find a successor before next year's high-profile ministerial meeting, and it would allow that person to craft a new strategy for this new post-coronavirus era. But there's no doubt that this is a really unexpected move, adding another layer of uncertainty to an already rather bleak outlook for global trade.
More changes expected of the WTO, therefore. Another leading story for us, Kay, is that now a quarter of the entire American workforce have filed for unemployment.
Absolutely. This is last week's unemployment data coming in this Thursday. The first week since mid-March that initial jobless claims fell below the 3 million mark. In any other period, this would be record-breaking. Now, 2,981,000 new claims is seen as an improvement. 36.5 million people have lost their jobs in the space of just 2 months. As we heard last week, it's driven the overall unemployment rate in the United States to nearly 15% in the month of April. A key figure to watch is going to be the continuing claims. That's people who are on the books for more than 2 weeks at a time. Data show that coming in just under 23 million for last week. That's going to help track the speed at which the labor force recovers. Are people being hired back quickly within weeks as states relax their lockdown measures, or are they going to be out of work for longer periods of time? Just yesterday, we heard from the head of the U.S. Federal Reserve, warning that unemployment levels were likely to remain elevated for quite some time. A report from the central bank also confirming that lower income households are paying a larger price. They're facing a particularly hard time because their lower paid jobs are more at risk. All of this painting a picture of a slow and very painful recovery for the world's largest economy.
Our business editor, Kate Moody. Kate, thank you very much for those details and that analysis. Well, here in France, Prime Minister